Runs with Courage, Chapter 8, Truth. At morning meal the next day, Miss Beatrice's eyes looked puffy, as if she had been crying. Pinchfinger stood in a corner with her arms crossed, watching us. "Children," Miss Beatrice said, unsmiling, "stand for prayers." Small Rose stood and elbowed the person next to her, who elbowed back. Both girls giggled. "That is not the way the good Christian children behave," Miss Beatrice snapped. "That is the behavior of savages." I stared at Miss Beatrice. I had never heard her use that word before. We finished the meal quickly and quietly. "Did you hear about Miss Beatrice?" Moonawake walked next to me as we went to the schoolhouse. "What about her?" I asked. "She got in trouble with Miss Agnes, with Pinchfinger. Pinchfinger saw us dancing last night when we were with Miss Beatrice, and Miss Beatrice didn't stop us, so now she's in trouble." "How do you know this?" I asked. Moonawake always seemed to know things that were going on with the teachers, things that no one else did. "I heard them last night when I went to use the privy," she said, smiling. Moonawake could be absolutely silent in her movements. She would have been a good hunter. In the schoolroom, I noticed that Pinchfinger was in the room, standing in the back. Miss Beatrice began with a history lesson, one of her favorite subjects to teach. During history, she would teach about the white leaders called the presidents. In her teaching, I had come to understand they were important chiefs with many warriors who followed them, but she was even impatient during the history lesson. "Who was our first president?" Miss Beatrice asked. Wachtel stood and answered, "George Washington." "Correct. And what were the years of his presidency?" Wachtel faltered. "Anna," she said to Wachtel, "you must study more if you want to be educated." I had been studying. I knew the answer. I wanted to show Miss Beatrice that I was learning what was important to her. I stood. "Sarah," Miss Beatrice pointed to me. 1789 to 1797, I said. "Correct, Sarah. You know the presidents very well." I smiled proudly. A bang sounded behind me, making us all jump. I turned to see a book lying upside down on the floor near the boy, William. "William," Miss Beatrice said, "you pick up the book." Pinchfinger snapped, interrupting Miss Beatrice, but instead of doing as he was told, the boy took a Small Rose's book from her desk and dropped it upside down on the floor. He went to someone else and did the same thing with another book. "That is enough, William," Pinchfinger said. "To the front." No one moved as he slowly shuffled towards her. I knew what was going to happen, but I didn't want to see it. "I know you don't always understand things, William," Pinchfinger said, speaking slowly and loudly, "but you must learn to be civilized. You must learn to treat your books with respect." Miss Beatrice stood, frozen, nearby, the teaching stick still in her hands. Taking the stick from Miss Beatrice, Pinchfinger took William's hands, turned the palms side up, and gave the palm 5 sharp strikes with the stick. I winced with each crack. But the boy just stared straight at her, not looking down respectfully as he should with an elder, but staring right into her eyes. He did not flinch as the ruler struck his hands. "Now sit and act like a civilized young man," Pinchfinger finished. And then she turned to Miss Beatrice and said, That is how you rid them of savagery." The rest of the morning passed in a complete silence. Miss Beatrice finished her lesson, and we all huddled over our readers. No one spoke. No one looked at anyone else. I just wanted the morning to finish without anyone else getting hit. With the clang of the lunch meal bell, I stood relieved that I could escape the room for a while. The air was chilly, but I wanted to get away from the teachers. I joined Wachtel and Moonawake at our usual place by the big tree near the schoolyard. We sat eating quietly, our thoughts filled with the morning's events. A shadow appeared, and I looked up to see William standing in front of me. "You admire the great white fathers?" he asked in the perfect Lakota. I looked at him. His voice was strong and his eyes looked angry. Wachtel glared at him. "We're trying to eat, William," she said slowly, so that he would understand her white words. "You admire the great white fathers?" he repeated, still looking at me. "No," I said, standing. "I hate the great white father." I could feel my face grow warm. "But you know their names, their dates," he continued in Lakota. "You enjoy learning about the great white fathers." His words were pointed, intended to shoot like an arrow. Anger flashed, burning hot. Who was this boy with his short hair who had burned my clothes? Who was this boy to question me about the presidents? "I hate the great white father," I repeated. "He is the one who breaks all of his promises. He is the one who lets us starve." "And yet you answer every question about the great white fathers correctly," he continued calmly. "Those are the presidents, not the great white father," I said, trying to keep control of my anger. "The presidents are the great white fathers," he spat, and then he turned and walked away. I watched him leave, unable to believe what he had just said. I knew he was slow. Surely he was confused about the presidents, the leaders Miss Beatrice admired so much. I was certain the president wasn't the Great White Father. Walks tall, I asked. Is this true? Are the presidents the same as the Great White Father? Oh, Four Winds, she said. He is slow, and I already told you that, but you should not talk to him. He is trouble. But he is right. They are the same, Moon Awake said. The president is what the whites call him, but my Tio Spa calls him the Great White Father. Oh, I said, suddenly feeling sick. The boy's arrow had hit its target. That night I lay in the dark, wrestling with my new truth, longing for the presence of the elders in my Tio Spa. I wanted to speak with Uncle. I knew he would listen as I talked, letting me speak until all of the words were out. Then he would think in his quiet way and offer wisdom. I wondered what advice would be about with the new truth I had uncovered. But even when I tried to imagine his voice, all I could hear were the whisperings of the girls around me and the rattling of confused thoughts in my head. I thought of the beatings at school and the rules I didn't understand. I thought of the white God and the Jesus and never being able to say my real name or speak in my real language. I thought of being a savage and being uncivilized, and I began to have a new understanding. The teachers at the school didn't want to help my people. They weren't interested in building bridges. I thought I understood why Uncle had sent me, to be a bridge, but the whites didn't want a bridge.